In today's show, we're looking at week 9 for the NBA. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_Beeble, on TikTok at redrock_Beeble, on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball, and Substack, joshloyd48.substack.com. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. We're going to look ahead to week 9. Weird week in that there's no clear, not as clear of a streaming strategy as there was last week. We were really hitting the Heat players with their great schedule. The volume of games is a little bit changed as well. So we'll talk about that right now. Warnie.
Let's get it on, Gilly.
We're getting closer to the ideal scenario of 7 or 8 games every day. Not quite there, but this is a day where conceivably there could be streaming every single day. We've got 7 games on Monday. We've been getting like 8 games on Monday a lot of this time. So we've got 7 games on Monday. We've got 5 on Tuesday. We've only been having 3 of them on Tuesday, or 4. So we're pushing like 7 Monday and Tuesday. Not that different. We've only got 10 on Wednesday. And 10 is above my usual cutoff, which is 9 games for it to designate a streaming day. But it's not far off. 10 is much better than 11 or 12. So you could stream on Wednesday. You got 4 on Thursday, better than a 2-game Thursday. You got 10 on Friday. It's better than an 11 or 12-game Friday. Again, potential for streaming, maybe. And the weekend, it's 7 and 7. We've been getting 8 and 7s on the weekend lately. So we've got fewer Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Saturday, Sunday games, but more Thursday, Friday games. More Thursday, Tuesday games. Conceivably, you could stream every day. Using the cutoff and the rules that I always tend to use, we're streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. But that's always going to depend on your individual squad, how your team looks with injuries, how your team looks with roster spots, and what players you've got. Because we're right on the borderline here from a full stream week. And that is very different to some of the other weeks we've had 13 games and 2 games. All right, it's much better to have it this way. Again, just prefer those 10 Wednesday games, just put 2 of them onto Thursday. Those 10 Friday games, put 3 of them onto Thursday. And we've got a perfect schedule. We're never going to get there, but that would be good. Let's look at how the week shakes out. It is a lower volume week in general. Only 11 teams play 4 games this week. So a 3-game week doesn't kill you. When you've got 18 teams playing 4 games, one of your players playing 3 is a big disservice. But only 11 teams play 4 games. 18 teams play 3 games. And the Philadelphia 76ers play 2 games. I feel like the Sixers have already had a 2-game week not that long ago. And we're back up with another one, which is annoying. But that is where we are with that. In terms of the 4-game teams, we've got Miami again. Great little schedule run for Miami. That's 7 quality games for Miami over the last 2 weeks. 4 last week, 3 this week, with 8 games total. It's unbelievably good. Portland has 4. Minnesota has 4. Cleveland has 4. Boston has 4. The Thunder have 4. The Wizards have 4. The Warriors have 4. Pacers, Clippers, and Mavericks all have 4 games. I'm recording this on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, so it's before Saturday's games, and I know a lot of you will have seen the carnage of all of the players out, all of the Nets guys out, most of the Mavericks guys out, and I know it's frustrating from a fantasy perspective, but I actually think it's good. I'll tell you why I think it's good, because back-to-backs literally should not exist, and there is every reason and sports science and player welfare and all that's reason to sit these players after minutes have been loading up after 25, 30% of the season's gone, and you need to sit them all on a back-to-back. And hopefully the fact that these teams, like the Nets and the Mavs, are sitting these stars on these back-to-backs make the leagues go, we just can't have these back-to-backs. Honestly, I know that the schedule can easily accommodate not having back-to-backs, I think. So while it's frustrating for us and people will be, they're soft, back in the day they used to do it, that's cool. But we're smarter than that now. And for every player who was able to play every game and survive, plenty others didn't. And they got hurt a lot more. And the quality of basketball dip. You see on a back-to-back how much the quality of basketball dips. In the Mavericks, for example, on this back-to-back, like they're going to get smashed tonight, I think. They landed in Chicago at 4 a.m. and they've got to play at 7:30. That's pretty crazy. So there's no justification in my mind for a back-to-back. And like sitting all these players, which is the right move, sacrifice a regular season game, again, because there's too many regular season games, to preserve your players. I hope the league does something about it in the future. Because there's no justification for it, really, to have back-to-backs. And that's my little spiel on that. We'll talk about the Sixers and their 2-game weeks. I think, obviously, if you're holding on to Actually, we'll talk about it now. If you're holding on to a Shake Milton, there's absolutely no need to. With only 2 games this week, there's no point. I would still hold D'Anthony Melton. We saw what he did yesterday. He went crazy. And yes, you only get 2 games out of him this week. But I still would hold. And the 2 games are on Tuesday and on Friday. So maybe you play him once. You probably play him twice with Maxey out, though. Same with Harden, Embiid, Harris. You play them all those games too. And with the majority of teams playing 3 games, a 2-game week doesn't hurt you as much if 20 teams were playing 4 games. That would kill you more. So don't drop, I guess what I'm trying to say is don't drop D'Anthony Melton because they've got a 2-game week. I think that's fair enough. What do you guys think? Would you drop him? If you are watching on YouTube, what are you considering with Melton? Surely you couldn't drop him after what he did yesterday, even though there is only 2 games coming up this week. Today's episode is brought to you by the folks at Rocket Money. It's hard sometimes to cancel a subscription. You try to do it. It's like, are you sure? What's your reason? They move the yes or no button across. What's going on? I just want to cancel a subscription. But sometimes you go, all right, fine. I guess I need it. And then you end up paying all this money that you don't have to. That's why I love using Rocket Money. It's formerly known as Truebill, and it helps cancel those subscriptions for you. If you're wasting that money on subscriptions, 80% of people have subscriptions they forget about. It might be an unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. It's a great app, like that is Rocket Money, of course, that you can track all those expenses and you no longer waste that money on subscriptions. You might have heard of it. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. This app shows all your subscriptions in one place and cancels what you don't want for you. It can even find the subscriptions you didn't know that you were paying for. Really easy stuff on Rocket Money because, again, it just finds everything that you need, puts them all through. Easy. Get rid of it. You don't need to pay that. Cancel unnecessary subscriptions with Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Seriously, you could save you hundreds per year. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Let's look at streaming options. As I said, theoretically, we're streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. But you might be able to do Wednesday and Friday. It's only 10 games on those days. You might get away with it. There are 10 teams that play 3 quality games this week. No one has the 4 quality game schedule. There are also 10 teams that play 1 quality game. And I guess through the magical powers of deduction, you could figure out that 10 teams play 2 quality games. Very even split. Not often you get 10 separate teams playing just 1 quality game. Like the Bulls, thankfully there's no 4-game teams. There couldn't be because there's only 2 non-qualities this week. The Bulls, the Knicks, the Hawks, the Nuggets, the Hornets, the Pistons, Kings, Raptors, Magic, and Sixers, 1 quality game this week. So, again, it's going to depend on what you do on a Wednesday and on a Friday. But those teams have a worse schedule. You compare the Pistons' schedule. They play... Where am I looking? The Pistons play on Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. That's a 3-game week. It smells a lot. Versus the Suns, who play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Both 3-game weeks... One of them considerably better. So if you've got a fringe Pistons player, Marvin Bagley, and you're looking at him, you might not play him Wednesday or Friday, and then you have to wait until Sunday to use him. Whereas adding a fringe Suns player, Torrey Craig, you would use him Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and then be able to clear the roster spot and use someone else on Sunday. So while in a vacuum on a per-game basis, Bagley is probably a better player than Craig. Is he? I don't actually, maybe he's not. He probably isn't. But the utility of that, if you can't use Bagley on a Wednesday or Friday, there's no point holding onto a bloke for 6 days just to play him on a Sunday when you could have had Torrey Craig and played him 3 times and then dropped him and added someone else for the Sunday. That is what we talk about manipulating the schedule. It's not just about pure rank or rest of season value or even weekly value. Because that is two teams, two players who play 3 games for the week, and one of them might be the 130th best player, and one of them might be the 160th best player. But the 160th best player, because of schedule, is like 4 times as good for this week. And that is how you create an edge in fantasy, because that is going the extra step past just looking at games or value or ranks or player raters or whatever. That is the extra step. Finding out when the teams play. And it's not just, there's extra steps. It's like, okay, how many games they play? That's step 1 of analyzing a schedule. The next is, when do they play those games? Like, are they on low volume or high volume days? That's step 2 of figuring out the value. Then the next thing is, when do those games actually take place during the week? Because again, like if someone had 2 quality games and they were the Saturday, Sunday back-to-back, and if someone had 2 quality games and it was the Monday, Tuesday back-to-back, well, there's big differences there. Because that Saturday, Sunday guy, you'd have to hold for 5 days to use them, whereas the Monday, Tuesday guy, you'd use him and then you get rid of him. And then you could add that Saturday, Sunday guy later in the week. They're the 3 levels of analyzing the schedule. There's basic, there's intermediate, and then there's legendary. Like, that is how you create the edge. Planning all that out, maximizing everything you can get for your team. So, pay attention to it. It's a very evenly spaced week. No one plays 4 qualities. 10 with 3, 10 with 2, 10 with 1. Making those moves at the right time is vitally important. Hope that helped. Back-to-backs. Only one team's got the back-to-back coming into the week, from Sunday to Monday against the Hawks. So, while we've been really discouraged with AJ Griffin's last 3 games, especially his minutes in the last one, the Sunday-Monday combination helps him. Same with Jalen Johnson, who struggled. Now, obviously, Bogdanovic is at risk of resting one of these games. Hunter, Murray, Collins could all be out for both of these games. So, Aaron Holiday, AJ Griffin, Jalen Johnson, despite mediocre returns, there is going to be value here on this back-to-back to begin the week. Remember that before you rage cut someone. Like, again, in a vacuum, like AJ Griffin was bad. Bogdanovic played 33 minutes, even though he was allegedly on a 23-minute limit. Like, cool. Love lying. It's better than everything. But if Bogdanovic doesn't play one of Sunday or Monday, which we'd have to expect, and Hunter and all those guys are out, then holding on to Griffin to get those 2 games, which doesn't cost you an ad, might have use for you, yeah? There's only one team with a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back. Al Horford's back is scared already. It knows that a spasm's going to come probably Monday night, Tuesday morning. So they've got the Monday, Tuesday back-to-back, the only team. So we could also have Rob Williams back, but there's no way he's playing both of those games. So remember that you might have Horford missing one, Williams playing in 1 or 1 or 0. So Derek White, Grant Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, maybe Sam Hauser in deeper leagues. There's going to be some value appear there. Tuesday, Wednesday, it's Warriors Kings. Now that Wednesday is the 10-game day, so maybe you don't stream guys in there, but what's important is that the Warriors play. So Klay Thompson is going to sit. I don't think Steph or Draymond will sit, but Wiggins is probably unlikely to play both of those games, considering he's still out. So value for Kuminga, value for Poole. And the Kings have the back-to-back. I'm not really worried about anyone there apart from De'Aaron Fox, who's dealing with the foot problem at the moment. And yes, Davion Mitchell isn't good and doesn't thrive and doesn't put up good numbers, but he still is going to be worth having a starting point guard who can get you 6 assists with 2 steals. That's useful enough as a short-term stream if Fox is out. The Tuesday, Thursday pseudo back-to-back, this is what we really want to attack. That's the 5 and 4 game combo, I think it is. Phoenix, Milwaukee, Houston, New Orleans, and Utah have that combination. Then there's Wednesday, Thursday, only 2 teams, and they're both pretty shitty teams to have that back-to-back. The Miami Heat, so the risk of rest for Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry is pretty high. Plus, they list every single player on the injury report, so there's always a risk of someone sitting one of those. And then there's the Clippers, so you're going to have no John Wall probably in one of those. And you're probably going to have, or definitely going to have no Kawhi Leonard in another one. So the value of Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann, Marcus Morris, Nico Batum, all of those guys get a boost on that Wednesday, Thursday combination. Thursday, Saturday is where a lot happens here. There's a big pseudo back-to-back option. Miami, the Clippers. Beware of that Miami and Clippers one though, because they've got that little stretch here, Wednesday through Saturday, Miami and the Clippers, where they play 3 games in 4 nights. But understand that Butler's not going to play 3. Lowry's probably not going to play 3. Kawhi's definitely not going to play 3. And Wall's not going to play 3. So some fringy guys are going to put up some numbers here or have some opportunity in this little midweek patch. They play Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Miami and the Clippers. You've got Phoenix who play Thursday, Saturday, the Bucks, the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Pelicans, and the Jazz. Friday, Saturday, which might be a hard stream considering the 10 games on Friday. Portland, Cleveland, Thunder, and Dallas. And then the weekend, there is no back-to-backs. Saturday, Sunday, nothing. To enter week 10, we've got Hornets, Wolves, Raptors, Magic, and Lakers. They end the week playing Sunday and then starting the new week on the old Monday. So what's our streaming plan? It's not as clear as last week. We're only starting, this is not including, we do the Sunday stuff. We already talked about the Sunday stream options. But we do the Boston Monday, Tuesday back-to-back. So we're expecting Horford or Williams to be out. So it's Grant Williams who gets the boost. It's Derek White who gets the boost. It's Malcolm Brogdon that gets the boost. But the boost might be muted. Say Rob plays in one and Horford plays in the other. When in other situations, we would have had Rob out both and Horford out one. So there is minutes there that will be eliminated. But that's still going to be your best option to start the week, is to grab one of those fringe Celtics players. And then there's a bunch of teams that we can look at. We probably ignore Wednesday with 10 games on, but we look at Miami, the Clippers, the Suns, the Bucks, the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Pelicans, the Jazz for Thursday, Saturday. So that might be, you just pick a player from each team. Caleb Martin, who's the schedule's really doing him favors. He's looking good, and there's going to be rests. Clippers, Johnny Wall, maybe. Yeah, probably not. Nico Batum's playing well. Reggie Jackson, maybe. Phoenix, you got Torrey Craig. That's probably really the only option there. The Bucks, Grayson Allen. Yeah, he's got a solid role. He's playing pretty well. There is value in Grayson Allen here. The Grizzlies, maybe it is Lil John Concha. Okay. Maybe it's Zaire Williams for deeper leagues. The Rockets, it's not that many guys. Maybe Bruno Fernando. Eric Gordon, Tari preseason, good value there. The Pelicans, it's Trey Murphy. It's Jose Alvarado. The Jazz, Malik Beasley, if he's not rostered, he's a good one. Walker Kessler's a great one. And then you've used those two ads, and then you've got one more ad to stream in for whatever you want on Sunday. And that gives you one more ad, usually, for the week, which you use for opportunity ads, you use for injury replacement ads, you use for long-term ads. So this is probably the best way. Like, you can get 4 games here, 5 games out of 3 ads, not bad, and have 1 left over to do other stuff. I think that's probably going to be the best option. The other best option is that today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Every potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain you've got the right person, because if you don't, it costs you everything. Well, not everything, but it costs you a lot. Money, time, productivity, sanity. That's why with LinkedIn Jobs, they can help you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Just go in there, type up your little ad, get people on board, get it looking smick and everything you need in there. And then on your own LinkedIn profile, add the purple hashtag hiring frame, and that lets people know that you are hiring. Simple tools like the screening questions make it easier to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Let's look at front and back loading. The Heat and the Clippers have a really weird schedule, right? They are chunked, right? We talked about them having the Wednesday to Saturday 3 games in 4 nights, right? We talked about that. They also have a Monday to Thursday 3 games in 4 nights. So they play 4 games in 6 nights. There is going to be opportunities because there is no chance that Jimmy Butler is giving you 4 games in 6 nights. We know Kawhi isn't. He might play 2, he might play 3. John Wall, he's not giving you 4. Paul George might not give you 4. It's a terrible load for these teams. So while, again, on the surface, the Heat schedule, having 3 quality games, 4 last week is great, that chunk here is pretty rough. And you're going to imagine there are going to be players resting. Then you've got the flip side of that. Detroit, Charlotte, Chicago, the Knicks, the Magic, the Nuggets, and the Raptors, they don't play until Wednesday. So fringe players for those teams, you're losing 2 stream days on Monday, Tuesday, holding them, waiting for a 10-game Wednesday. And then they might not play again until Friday. So with a lot of these guys, you might not have anything from them until that one game on the weekend. Like the Magic, for example, their first quality game for the week comes on Sunday. And there are quite a few teams that have that. So be aware that like fringe players, if they're giving you nothing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or even Thursday, and then Friday as well, it's probably not worth it if they're a fringe player. At the end of the week, Atlanta, the Kings, and the Sixers do not play on the weekend. That doesn't mean drop DeAnthony Melton. But, if, say, De'Aaron Fox is still questionable, maybe don't want to hold Davion Mitchell. That would mean that Griffin and Johnson could become drops in Atlanta because they just don't play and you can maximize other stuff. And honestly, they're not giving you huge amounts that you need to feel terrible about dropping them. Let's look at some weekly league stuff. If your league changes lineups every day, this isn't for you. So don't panic about sits and ads and that sort of stuff. Don't panic about it. Guys that you can add for the week. Denny Avdia, I think he's a pretty clear ad right across the board with Bradley Beal out. Until Beal comes back, he's a clear ad. Right? And they're playing 4 games this week. Really good stuff. Then you got the Thunder guys, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, Alexei Pokusevski, and the Bronco, Jalen Williams.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Now, I can guarantee you there's going to be some shit games from all of those guys this week. But when you've only got 11 teams playing 4 games, and the Thunder are one of them, volume matters here. You expect they play all 4 games, and maybe they play 22 minutes a night on average. Maybe they play 24 minutes a night on average. That's 100 minutes. That's the equivalent of a 3-game guy playing 33 minutes every night. And there's not many waiver wire players who aren't named PJ Tucker who can play 33 minutes a night every night who are just sitting on waivers. So that's the value of that. It's not, Poku again. Maybe he only plays 22 minutes. Jalen Williams might only play 27. Yeah, that is all true. But you can't find that in a 3-game player. You just can't find that volume for the week. And that's, again, manipulating the schedule, understanding the schedule, working out how that all adds together. And there's Marcus Morris. Now, I don't know whether Morris will rest any of these games because it is a rough schedule, 4 games in 6 nights. But with Kawhi likely out, George may be missing, John Wall may be missing, Reggie Jackson may be missing, but who knows? It's a tough schedule. They're going to have to manage it. Maybe Morris gets through unscathed. I don't know, but maybe he does. Let's look at guys we can sit. I wouldn't sit Harden and Embiid, but every other 6er I would. Harris, Melton, anyone else you're deciding to roster. And then Sadiq Bey, Malik Beasley, Cole Anthony, John Wall, Lonnie Walker, Herb Jones, and Jaden Ivey. Really tough for me to look at those guys as starts for this week ahead. In points league, some guys we can add. These are all available in like over 40% of leagues. Kyle Anderson, what are we doing? He has to be rostered everywhere. Yes, there'll be some up and down games, but volume of schedule this week, 4 games is brilliant. He's replacing Karl Anthony Towns. He can contribute across the board. He's got to be rostered. Same with Avdia. Lou Dort, 4-game week. Like it. There's Robinson-Earl, Pokusevski there as well. You got Jalen Noel and Caleb Martin. Watch the Caleb Martin one just in case. He's had a few little injury worries, but nothing major. And then Lou Dort as well. And Marcus Morris is another option for the week. In terms of sitting guys in points leagues, well, 6ers again, apart from Embiid and Harden. I wouldn't bother starting a Trey Murphy or a Keegan Murray. Cole Anthony, Sadiq Bey, Herb Jones, Malik Beasley. And I think Bol is bored. In a category league, I would start Bol with 3 games. But in a points league, with only 3 games, with the potential return of Suggs at some point this week, or Gary Harris at some point this week, maybe Wendell Carter at some point this week, and maybe, almost definitely not, maybe John Isaac returns. I don't think so. But there's a lot of uncertainty about rotations with 3 games on this week. Now, Suggs is the major one I'd be worried about returning. And you might just have a better option than Bol, who's not anywhere near as good in a points league as he is in a category league. So the hype around Bol is great, but his value in a points league is significantly less than it is in a category league. I would still start him in a category league. I'd be borderline about starting him in a points league for this week because of how the schedule plays out and the potential return of those injured players. That'll do it for me today. I'll be back with a stream show for Sunday later on. Follow this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on Odyssey. Hit a thumb up, like it, subscribe it, comment on it. Guys, we're done. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.